Spoiler alert, this is one of the things where I have to give the disclaimer. If there is a contract signed between the time I finish recording this audio and the time the video is public on YouTube, then, hey, this entire video is pointless. But today we are talking about one of the young stars in the NHL, a guy who has made a name for himself as one of the most high-profile, high-status guys in the league because of his incredible skill set. You want to talk about guys who can dangle your pants off, guys who are super creative with the puck in their stick, and guys who just bring fans out of their seats? There may be none other than the Anaheim Ducks' 9th overall pick in 2019, Trevor Zegras, who is just that in the NHL today. From the amount of Michigan goals this guy scores to his bromance with Cole Caulfield back on the NTDP, Trevor Zegras has been a phenomenal hockey player ever since making his debut with the Ducks. But with the contract situation looming over everybody's heads, you kind of have to ask yourselves, okay, what the hell is going on here? The Anaheim Ducks, currently, at the time of recording this audio, do not have a contract given out to Trevor Zegras. He is an RFA who is unsigned, one of the few remaining RFAs who is not signed with their teams. At the time of recording this audio, you have other guys like Shane Pinto who are still unsigned. You had some guys who had signed very recently. Jan Yannick was one of them, but Trevor Zegras with the Anaheim Ducks, after posting up a 60-point season, back-to-back 60-point seasons, by the way, he still is in this territory. It's limbo right now. We don't know what's going to happen. And if you wanted to go over how the contract talks are going, things don't look all too great when you consider just what the insiders are saying. This is what Renaud Lavoie said on TVA Sports earlier this week. He said that the Ducks are offering Trevor Zegras something in the $3 to $4 million AAV range. Now, that's just the dollar amount. What's the deal going to look like in terms of term? It's sort of been implied amongst other insiders and analysts that the term could be some sort of a bridge deal. It's apparent that both Zegras and the Ducks are probably on the same page in terms of the contract length. Neither side apparently wants to go long-term with this. But if it's a short-term 2, 3, 4-year bridge deal with a $3 or $4 million AAV price tag to it, you could understand why the contract hasn't gotten done yet. Zegras, as we had said, is a multi-time 60-point guy who plays center, and he's a very skilled player in the league. He already was the NHL's cover athlete for the EA Sports video game, and with his brazen personality and puck skills, this is a guy whom the NHL can market the game around. It's just, is that really worth $3 to $4 million a year? You could say, hey, the guy is 60-point caliber, he'll probably get better as the years go on. Once Mason McTavish and Leo Carlsson make the team, you're going to have such a good core of young Ducks. Add to that the defensemen, Michkov, Drysdale, Tristan Luneau, so many amazing young players in this pool, and Zegras is supposed to be the guy to lead them all. Why are you offering him $3 to $4 million? The Anaheim Ducks are in the very strange spot of having given out huge dollar amount contracts to guys like Alex Killorn. Go over to the Ducks and their cap-friendly page right here. You can see the team has a whopping, $16 million in cap space right now? If they wanted to re-sign Zegras to a full 8-year extension worth $8 or $9 million a year, they could, but they just don't want to. And so with this idea in mind, it's apparent that we're at a crossroads. The Ducks and Zegras have not agreed on a deal, and this could drag itself out like William Nylander's situation did a few years ago with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll get there when we get there, though. We'll see if December is actually when things get done and settled. But because Zegras is still in this precarious spot of not having a contract, you had comments like this made on the JIC show in TVA Sports. Now, here's a tweet made by Ben Mathewson going over one of the quotes that was brought up on this television program in Quebec. The Ducks are being choosy with Trevor Zegras. They want to break it? I heard there's a team looking that way, and it's the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres have to make the playoffs this year, and you solve your problem by bringing in Zegras. Now, of course, this is a French show, and it's translated into English, but essentially the idea that's being tossed around there is apparently how the Buffalo Sabres might have interest in, let's just say, offer-sheeting Zegras. Not making a trade for the guy, but sending a few dollars his way and trying to get him to sign onto your team. If you go over to the Sabres and their cap situation, they've got $8.7 million in freed up dollars right now. And if you wanted to think about what this could look like as compensation, I mean, the Buffalo Sabres have all their top 3 picks over the next few years. They've got all their fourths too. So if the Sabres wanted to, let's say, throw a huge dollar amount AAV offer sheet Zegras' way, they would be able to do that. The opportunity comes here when you acknowledge that the Sabres are on the way up, they have some younger guys that are on their squad that are getting better, and if you wanted to really push yourselves into the postseason, maybe Zegras is the guy to help you out. Who really knows? Now, there are some replies to this tweet on Ben Mathewson's Twitter. Pete Blackburn says, I don't really understand this one from multiple angles. Mathewson replies, it's framing it as solving your problems is weird given the number of goals they gave up last season. On the other hand, scoring 7 goals a game would be a fun experiment. Now, the Sabres were one of the top goals for teams in the entire NHL last year, only beaten out by Boston. The issue comes, though, when you realize that the Sabres' goal differential was nowhere near the top, considering they let in a bunch of goals too. You also have to think about the future. Because sure, while you may have $8.7 million in cap space right now, the Sabres do have to re-sign a bunch of guys next year, and these are all fairly important names. Peyton Krebs needs a contract, so does Middlestad, you could say Olofsson is important, Rasmus Dahlin is an RFA, and with all these names you have about $46 million in cap space to work with. If you shell out $8-something million to Zegras, who knows how much money you're going to be holding away from guys like Yoki Haru or Owen Power. These guys all need contracts, and it's pretty dire how everything is coinciding in 24-25's offseason. It's gonna be big. But hey, at the same time, I mean, the idea of offer sheeting or making a trade or something for Trevor Zegras in Buffalo, just think about what that could look like. Having all these 2019 first-round guys on the same squad, Cousins, Krebs, and Zegras. I mean, if you brought a time machine back from 2019 to now, it would be kind of insane even thinking about 2 of these guys playing with each other, let alone 3. And then, of course, having Zegras set up a guy like, I don't know, Dylan Cousins on the flank. You move Zegras to the wing, you have Skinner also as a triggerman there. If you wanted to get some really fancy power play stuff going with Dahlin and Zegras on the same unit, that could be really nifty, could add a really good element of skill to that power play. But of course, this is all just hypothetical what-ifs, right? I mean, we had a journalist on JIC say that the Sabres are apparently targeting Zegras, and the reason this is all happening is because the Anaheim Ducks are just straight up lowballing the guy. He's not worth $3 or $4 million. He's worth so much more than that, and even more so when you consider how good he's going to be. He already had back-to-back 60-point seasons at, 21 and 22 years old? Like, he was 20 for the majority of 2021-2022, and he still put up 61 points in 75 games. The Ducks are not a great team, and we know they're going to be bad this upcoming season. They're probably going to get themselves another top pick, get themselves another top prospect, and everybody's plus-minus rating on this team is going to be bad. But you have talent here. And to ignore that and pretend that your guys are worth $3 or $4 million, even if it's on a bridge deal, that is the weird part, especially considering how much money you are willing to give to guys like Alex Killorn in free agency. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Anaheim Ducks lowballing Trevor Zegras and the idea of the Buffalo Sabres going after him in some sort of a, let's just say, offer sheet scenario? We're going to use that because that's the easy one. The Sabres could do it if they wanted, but it would really throw a wrench into what they would need to do long-term with their money beyond 23-24. There are other guys who need contracts, and Zegras will be one of many taking up a big dollar amount on this team. Of course, though, he's justifiably worth it, I guess you could say, especially considering just the impact on how he's able to market the game, how he's able to market the league. You could debate that Trevor Zegras is a bigger star in Anaheim Ducks lore than, I mean, a lot of the guys you have had over the past few years. Like, of course, you had the Solanis and the Getzlavs and the Perrys, but Trevor Zegras might just be one of the most marketable stars this team has had in years. So thinking about that guy making $3 or $4 million, I get how negotiating is supposed to work, but that's small. Very, very small. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Ducks lowballing Zegras? What are your thoughts about the Buffalo Sabres going after him? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.